My name is Amund Tømmerbakke, and I work as a sound engineer in Oslo, Norway. A job that makes every day a new and different challenge. Through my years behind the mixing desk and being part of Oslo's thriving music scene, I've gotten to a very special spot. I get to see all the young new talent, work with them, and help them reach their true potential. Some artists' careers take off, while others stay local. Sometimes you also experience music that really touches you. Artists that truly hammers home the fact that this is why you do this. Undergrowth is the show where you get to see some of these bands play live in the studio, join for a podcast after, and send you home with a musical statement. We're honored to give you, on our maiden voyage, Oslo noise rock trio, Deathcrush.
Welcome to the first episode of Undergrowth, and this is Deathcrush.
In Kmehr we say,
Are you ready? Atomic art, I don't the same, just to make us seem less stupid. Atomic art, I don't the same, just to make us seem less stupid. We better run, 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 run. To share. Now You don't love me. You just love my doggy style.
Let the dancing begin.
Insane. Oh my God. Well, now we're gonna have sit down and chat with the band, and I can't wait to what's gonna happen next. That was Deathcrush, and what a amazing experience that was. You guys are like definitely like a live band that I've seen that like when you walk out of the venue, you just, what did I just see now? Like, do you get a lot of feedback on like the way you are on stage that kind of sets you apart from other bands or something?
I don't know if it sets us apart from other bands, but I think it's always nice when the adrenaline sort of moves from us to them in a way. So when you go off stage and you're like, and people go like, like running up towards you, it's always nice.
And as a band that's been touring a lot outside of Norway, how do you feel like it is being a band that's growing into like Norway is not big enough for us anymore. Like we're breaking out and we want to play for more. Like,
but Norway was never big enough. That's the point of Norway. That's why tourists come here, just to see that there's no one here. Like that's the thing. Like what we do, I think, or like whatever you do in Norway, there's not going to be enough people, so you kind of have to go outside of Norway. So I don't think. It always feels like you get sort of Norway for free if you go abroad anyway, because in Norway, like, it's still news that, like, Norwegian band went abroad. Like, you know, I don't know. I think then that's how it works now anyway.
I think it's like it's the same percentage maybe of weirdos.
Yeah.
Just like, of course, there's not that many people when you take that percentage in Norway. So it's like you can't tour every city because there's like 2 weirdos. Yeah. In that city.
But we do, and everyone does that. Norwegian bands do that all the time. Like, you know that you're going to a place where, like, every single person in that city would have to go to your show just to make, like, a decent audience. And still you go there, because it's all about, like, bringing the culture into, you know. And, I mean, I'm from Oslo, both me and Pella, and we always get, like, hassled for being, like, from the capital and how Oslo just keeps everything to themselves type of thing. And like, no, we play for 4 people all the time. I mean, it is important to travel. And even though, like, the next big city to Oslo is in Sweden, you go those 8 hours to play in a tiny, in other countries it wouldn't be a city, it would probably be like a...
Dorf.
Dorf, yeah. It would be a dorf. Yeah. But yeah, you still do it, and it's always nice, and it's sometimes like you go places and you kind of want to find, maybe they might have like a bigger stage in that town, but it's much more fun playing like the local pub or something, so like all the crazies come out, and it's just like, and it's the same crowd that would go, whoever was playing, it was like country or like hip hop or whatever, there's like a group of people that go to shows. Yeah. Like I remember once we went to this small place, and the bartender, as soon as we went into the venue, the bartender just went, "Nobody's coming tonight." And we're like, okay, great, thank you. No, because they're all going to this birthday party. Because that's the only crowd that goes to shows in that city. And we're like, oh, great, thank you. But I think that's, I mean, bands have that sort of experience everywhere anyway. And like you can be, I've seen huge bands that are my favorite bands that have been touring for like 30 years. Yeah. And they still might go to a place and play for 10 people. So I mean, that's just a part of being a musician. Yeah. So like being from Norway at least prepares you. Yeah. We're used to being alone.
Well, but when touring, do you ride around in a big tour bus, or do you go in a big little camper van or
vans?
Usually vans, but we have like if you're just going to do one show, we have like borrowed my grandmother's tiny little car because they have all the backline where we're going, and it's always like hilarious when you show up in quite a big venue in this tiny little car. Like, where's the van? We're like, oh, this is it. But we have done like nightliner tours as well. Yeah, which is fun. I for some reason I sleep really well in a coffin.
Well, maybe that's like the Norwegian in you that's coming out.
The vampire in you.
The vampire in me, yes. It's a few years too late for that, isn't it? Is that not on trend? Is it?
Norwegian vampire.
Norwegian vampires.
True Norwegian.
My new band.
True Norwegian vampire. But since, like the name Deathcrush, like for everybody that doesn't know,
should know.
Indeed.
Because it's an amazing album.
And what's your relationship to Deathcrush, and how did all of that come about?
It's going to be me talking again, isn't it? Well, yeah, no, I'm going to do this very Norwegian. I was in a really dark place. And I listened to that album every single day, like all day long, for like a year. And it was amazing, because I always liked metal, but black metal, but when I heard like the first releases, when they were trying to make all these 80s equipment work, and it just sounds like somebody wrecked like the first digital reverb and just like put a band in there. I mean, I love that sound. I really love it, and I think like the riffs and everything on there is great. Yeah. So, and it's, should we say it's a Mayhem album, because you said somebody might not know?
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. It's,
if you don't know, now you know.
Oh, I didn't know.
And that was a what reference?
Huh?
It was in the news just now. It was said in like the Senate or something in the States. If you don't know, now you know. Come on, people.
Yeah, the song?
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah, I know it. Is it?
This is embarrassing. Don't look at them. B.I.G. Come on.
Yeah, of course.
But
I'm combining Mayhem with B.I.G. Come on.
Speaking of Mayhem, they had us as support for a couple of shows, and that paid the mastering for our debut album.
oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah, so
I remember being at the last show of that one.
Then when they were so hungover because we brought them home the day before.
And I had to cut down the pigs' heads from the stage and carry them out to the dumpster in the back.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, there were like pigs' heads are a lot more heavy.
Yeah, they're super heavy. And we
'Cause
know
we
that.
had them at home.
Yeah, I woke up that morning before that show because it was 2 shows, 2 days in a row. And on the Saturday, we were just like, they were like, oh no, we have to carry these all the way to the old town. And we're like, nah, we just live down the street. Come on, we'll just bring them to our place. And then we took them to our place, which is like on top of a Burger King, and put them outside. And then the next day I woke up like, the sun, the pig's heads. And I was like, oh, the pig's heads are in the sun. So I had to run outside and get the pig's heads out of the sun. I'm like, what the hell? Okay, this is my life.
Yeah, that's like one of the things that would only happen in Norway, I guess. It's,
Maybe in like Poland.
especially like if you think about the caricature or the stereotype that a lot of people have about metal people in Norway,
Yeah.
like those people are fucking crazy, man.
Yes.
It's
They're
what
crazy,
don't
but they're
get-
hilariously crazy, kind of.
and they don't understand that it's a thick layer of humor involved in like all of it.
Yeah. I think that's the funniest thing about like the Inferno Festival, which is a great festival, but it's always fun to like, there's a lot of people that come to Oslo just for that. There's like a scent of conditioner in there because everyone's like, it's Oslo, like everyone from Oslo go on holiday and it's just like an invasion of metal people. And like half the audience are usually from the rest of Europe and like Eastern Europe, and they're super serious about metal. And all Norwegian people that are making all this metal that they're listening to and that they're sort of like, go, ah, they're all like making fun of themselves. But they don't know that.
Which is, yeah, I met this guy at the Inferno Festival once. Like he was from South America, of course. And you know when you see that one guy in the crowd that has all the corpse paint on?
I'm just picturing him in the hotel.
Oh, it's so good. And like, because when you see that guy, like, a lot of people, they're kind of like, oh shit, like that's one of the crazy guys. But like, I want to talk to him. Let's find out more. And usually they have some weird story, like some crazy story about how black metal saved their life or something like that. And then you just, wow, I don't actually think that this is that funny until you leave and then you laugh for yourself, I guess.
It's funny to go to a show alone with corpse paint. It's very cute.
It is very cute. Actually, one of the first promo shots we did for Deathcrush, it's like a pinkish Polaroid, like classic type of photo, but we're all like sat in the corner with like corpse paint and we look like pandas. It's hilarious.
As musicians and artists in Oslo, which is a town which is fairly, like it has a kind of a social culture which is like, as artists, the whole distance yourself from all the rich and powerful in society and all that, like it's prevalent like when you talk to a lot of people. And when I Google Deathcrush and I go down a little bit, I find an article about you in Dagens Næringsliv, like the Norwegian Financial Times, about your band and
How we're the most spoiled band in the world. I think that was the headline.
And
Or the
how do you
most
as
spoiled band in Norway.
artists feel about being talked about in the financial newspaper?
I mean, we're Norwegian. Makes sense. It's just, it was our quote, and it's, I think, I started playing in a band in England, which is where musicians are a totally different thing than it is in Norway. And I think most, because of oil, we can apply for money in this country, meaning that most bands have proper equipment, and it's a different game, and you get paid to play. And in England, you could like, if you a ticket for a show, like £4. It's just they have nothing and they get paid nothing, and it's sort of. I started playing there, so when I came back to Norway, I was just like. People were just like so demanding, and I was working for a festival, and I just remember telling my coworkers that if I host a festival, if I put on a festival, no Norwegian bands are playing because they don't know how good they have it. Like this festival was like saved by an English company because of how nice we treated the artists, and like we took them fishing and gave them free tattoos and cut their hair and gave them a massage. Like it was just, if you had puppies on your rider, you got a dog. Like it was a perfect sort of scenario. And the Norwegian bands were just like, and like so I don't know. I think I was sort of I think we were trying to like make a point and saying that we know that we're spoiled, but we were especially spoiled because we just started playing, and then all of a sudden we were playing the biggest festivals in Norway, and it went sort of.
Yeah.
So we were quite spoiled.
Are Norwegian bands in general spoiled, like in terms of like
They don't
equipment
know
and
it.
venues and everything like that?
The band, the good band and the Sugly, the Norwegian band, they have a song called, I think it's called Oil Punk,
Yeah.
where the chorus is something like all our hate supported by the state or something.
But it is it is a big part of just like where we are now. It's just we spend oil money also on culture.
Yeah.
So that means like when we have bands that come to, like when I work as a sound engineer, you have bands that are on tour and have a good backline and everything, but they'll go into, even if it's like a tiny basement and like they have to like climb downstairs, and like they still expect a Norwegian venue that we might have better equipment like in-house than they are bringing, that they rented. And it happens quite a lot that they don't bring in their equipment because Norwegian, even the tiniest rock venue, will have great equipment. So that is being spoiled when you go like to most other countries.
Yeah.
Or money spent wisely.
True.
Indeed.
I'm going with that one.
There's a lot of states and governments around the world that have more than enough money to do the exact same thing.
But they don't.
Yeah. Like instead of building skyscrapers, at least we're having nice rock stages.
We would build skyscrapers. It's just that we're not supposed to touch the wood, so there's no room.
Yeah, because yeah, like as a sound engineer myself, like whenever I've talked to other people, like especially early on, like I've never been on a tour before, and like I just want to get on tour and work with bands, and then I get all the experienced ones. Like you don't know what you're getting into, like going on tour through all the clubs and squats and everything that you have to go through, like when you go down through Europe and stuff like that. It's so horrible. You should buy a lot of equipment so you could bring it with you. And
That
just
is such a Norwegian thing to say. Instead of going like, well, you should expect maybe not the same standard that you're used to, la. Instead going, you should buy a lot of equipment, dude. That's like, I mean, how Norwegian is that?
Like a lot of my colleagues, they have their own mixers and everything.
Yes.
Because like, yeah, well, we're gonna play at some squat or basement somewhere in Germany or something, and it's like, yeah,
Why did you pick Germany? Okay.
Well, I get a lot of stories from that
Yes.
that country anyway, but yeah, like just make sure everything that's critical, bring it with you, so that you don't like have a really bad day at work and then you get all the blame for it.
But it is also quite common to bring equipment. You can sort of, when we went on that little tour of France, which was interesting, you sort of, you turn up places and you realize that probably people usually bring a PA. I think it's different. I mean, I like that we have all this great equipment, and I like that we spend all the state money on stuff like that. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I also think you should probably just like appreciate the fact that on like a day-to-day basis you can enjoy that equipment, but it's not a problem going somewhere else. Like you can still make it sound good, you can still make it work. It's a different deal, but it's not like you need all of this to make something. And that's probably like we've been criticized, like you know how if there's like a recession or something, like great art will come out of it, because artists will always make art, and when you're sort of pushed, something will happen. And in Norway, it's just like, my dad went to LA in the 90s to sign a deal, but they ended up not getting the deal because the guy just told them that, well, if I tell you guys no, you'll just go home to your kids and your nice houses, and you'll be like, almost. But there's like 100,000 people waiting outside this building that would die for this. They're sleeping in the streets for this, so maybe not. And I think that's been a problem for Norwegians. I think we're getting there, but it's ironic that instead of like finding our inner monk, we're instead like getting really good at pop, expensive pop. So.
Yeah, that's that is true actually. But
it's a lot of fashion and retro equipment. And,
Norway is really known for that. Like, whatever has been like at the top of the ratings like forever has been the very like modern and like, oh, that's European, right?
What do you mean?
Like the whole, for example, Aha, for example, which was like the biggest hit that came out of Norway, like ever at the point it was released.
And for another 20 years or something, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, I hear especially Americans, they just find the whole European, Scandinavian thing so exotic, in a sense. Like,
yeah.
Have you heard the same, or is it like, am I wrong?
Isn't that all?
With pop? Or like, in metal, definitely, but maybe in pop as well. I don't know.
It is like, it's the cold, like you see how they sort of angle like Aurora and all of those. It's still got that sort of look.
Forest
this is
vibe.
Me in the forest and blonde hair. You know, it's just it is but it is something that you can find at other places in the world. Some of it, but I think it does something to you being from like a dangerous country. It's like we always look at tourists and go, because they don't understand that like our nature is dangerous. Yeah. So we feel safe and warm in front of the fireplace, burning all our oil money. But at the same time, like we know not to like walk on the ice because it might break and you'll die. Yeah. But it's sort of, I don't know, that sort of contrast. Yeah. That we're sort of very like homey, and we like this thing that the Danish sort of hugged, the hygge, which is also a Norwegian thing. Yeah. But it's been branded by Denmark. How did that happen? We're really into that thing, but at the same time, it's a dangerous country, and it's just like, it's not many, like we were poor like 2 generations ago, 3. Yeah. So, not all of my grandparents' siblings survived. It's sort of a new thing, this whole comfort thing. It wasn't that comfortable, just like...
No,
we should go back to the war.
Up until the 70s, we didn't really have any money at all. Like Sweden was way ahead of us.
Yeah, they're still dealing with that.
Yeah, but also they say that the folk soul of Norwegians are like going for walks in the forest. Yeah. Like everybody loves going on hiking in the mountains and whatever. And actually, Dalai Lama said once that Norwegian was the most meditative people he ever met. That is not actually meditating, but just because of the culture.
I haven't heard
people
that, but that
go
makes sense.
walking at least 2-3 hours in the forest every week makes you, I guess, come into a certain vibe.
That's a really nice compliment.
Yeah, and walking out the door anywhere in Norway is walking in the forest.
And he was talking about Aha.
Not get you mean?
That's true.
He's my favorite.
That's why his eyes always looks like they're like rolling back into his head. It's because he's meditating. He's like...
He's reaching
meditative episode. Maybe it's like a diagnosis or something.
Maybe.
Well, let's see what I got here. Well, give me 1 or 3 examples for the music fans that have never been in Norway. How it is to be a band in Norway, and how. Oh, fuck, we kind of covered that already.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, let's see here.
Well, the contrast is, I guess, like being a musician in LA or San Francisco. There's a lot of people with a lot of money, and you're not that rich as a musician. So you're kind of the same, I guess.
Yeah, because like
a lot of you also work in the live business and industry in Oslo, and like how would you say that how is it being a band in Oslo in particular, like in terms of do you like where you get to play and like the like is it easy to get gigs as a band, and like how is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, for us it is at least.
I think I don't know if we're the right people to answer that question, because I remember when we started playing, people kept telling us like, you can only play Oslo like every 6 months or maybe even less than that. There were all these rules, and I was like, I don't understand why it's like that. So we just played every week.
Yeah.
And you can do that when you're opening for people, no problem. And I mean, I don't know, we've never had like an issue with the booking side. I think.
Well, you're a good band. So everybody wants you. It's
and we meet some quotas, so.
No, there's a lot of venues for all kinds of genres. Oslo is known for having a lot of concerts. I think they have more concerts than Copenhagen and Stockholm combined per year.
Isn't it like the most in Europe or something, events per like compared with the amount of people?
Yeah.
We have more events than anywhere else in Europe or something.
Yeah. So that's good, but
there's not enough people to go though. That's the problem. It's great. You can play any type of genre. It's not like some places you're like but this is what works in this town. La, la, la. And also you can be whatever, and you'll get like there's a venue for you, or there's like a promoter that will put up a show that whatever you're doing. Like once I did sound for this act that was like tap dance and vocals, interesting. But it's like anything goes, and so that's a good thing. Lost my train of thought.
But there's always something crashing. Like
there's, that's the thing.
Like
but there's
3
not
or
enough
4 concerts every night.
And there's not enough people to go around. Like you can always like there's this amazing band that's playing, but there's also this amazing band that's playing in sort of the same genre over there and there. So they're like sharing a few people, because nobody lives here.
It's the city with the most venues per capita. But you still have to play for 4 people in a bar.
We're making it sound really bad. It's usually not. It's usually not 4 people. Just saying that it's we're not that many people in this country. That's all. Or in the capital.
What would you define the genre in which you're in?
Never asked the band like that. I mean, people that like are trying to sound exactly like a '60s psych band don't know what they're playing. We schizophrenic.
Okay,
that's probably not the very
what I've written down is
schizophrenic rock.
What would you say defines Oslo's music sound, and where does Deathcrush fit in it?
Nowhere.
Oslo
the
is
sound?
I think Oslo
How
is
does Oslo music sound like?
very retro,
Yeah.
except for the electronic music.
Yeah.
I don't know about like today, but when I think of Oslo and rock, I kind of think of Scandi rock and the 90s, like Turbo Negro,
so
Glucifer, Anal Babes.
Yeah, but now it's just
That's
like
kind
psych
of
rock
an
instead.
Oslo sound. But
Yeah.
today,
it's just
I don't know if we have like a thing right now, because people are doing.
We have new wave of British heavy metal kind of vibe.
Nice.
I think
We got a lot more.
people with
like,
moustaches and leather vests.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
And the whole pop thing that's going on in all of Norway is also happening in Oslo. It's just there's a lot more people singing to a backing track. Never used to do that. There's a lot of that now. Where like people are just an artist in Norway wasn't that big before. There needed to be a band. You don't need a band anymore.
Yeah, like
That took us a long time. People have been doing that everywhere else since the 30s.
Yeah, but I'm excited about like the future of music. Next 10 years, I think, because a lot of the young people have turned into a lot of ecstasy and acid the last 3 years or so. So I think now it's soon going to turn into some. Yeah, something's going to happen. I think it's going to be like 1991 soon.
that's interesting.
Because I didn't get to experience that. Like, so yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, because it seems like the whole world is kind of having like this psychedelic awakening in a sense, like a rebound of the the 60s coming back.
I mean, it's because you turn on the news and what do you, there's no hope. And what happens? It's like you can choose a path, and I mean, oblivion is good.
Yeah, I guess like if you were in the grew up in the 50s and 60s, like you were afraid that Russia was gonna nuke you like the next morning, so you kind of like whatever.
Yeah, but that's sort of what's happening now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, like how afraid I am of nukes flying over.
Oh, yeah, I mean, just the other day was this huge item in space flying by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they coming?
Yeah, but the thing is
Finally.
that like two times a year there is Earth is going through. I can't remember the name of that. It's like it used to be a huge rock that exploded into smaller rocks, and one of those rocks.
The moon?
One of those rocks were the one that killed the dinosaurs. But we still go through that belt.
Yeah.
So, but no one's monitoring it in a proper way. So if we, maybe we should take some of the war money and put up into like monitoring this, because it's basically one of those rocks would be, I think, 100 times more powerful than all the nuclear weapons in the world.
I think it's fantastic that we have like CCTV on like every corner, but we're not monitoring that. But like, what could we do?
Well, Elon Musk is like working on like having a plan B to like move 1 million people to Mars within by 2050 or something.
Doesn't Trump need to win that war with Mars first?
Well, it's probably going to be a war in the future, like the war between Mars and Earth or something.
I'm just waiting for.
That's a metal.
Yeah, but
Are we not all
theme.
waiting for Xenu? Like, this is when we discovered that the Scientologists were right. You know.
That would be. I don't know what.
It's a good thing they're our neighbors. They have the office just 50 yards from our house.
It's so dangerous in our neighborhood now. There's Scientologists everywhere, and you can so tell who they are, like by the way they dress. And
like, do they dress in a particular way?
they look like sort of.
They have the same kind of like they have like rich man speed freak kind of look, like fast sunglasses.
Yeah, they look kind of like Jehovah's Witnesses, but like less skirts.
You know, Hank von Helvete from Terminator? They look like him, probably.
Yes, all of them.
You know, Hank von Helvete, like, after he quit Turbo Negro, like, he had this, like, he went away for a while, and then he came on some talk shows, like, yeah, I'm a Scientologist now. And then I went home to my parents on holiday, and he was, like, doing an opera part in this, like, local
Oh yeah,
play.
because you're from the opera city.
Indeed. And he has like some relatives or something in my hometown, so like he was like staying there and singing opera for the.
And you were like, oh, the Scientologists are coming.
Yeah, ex-rocker Scientologist opera. Like I'll go.
Yeah.
Like yeah, as the first episode of this podcast, like podcast concert type concept. I'm thinking like we should like kind of get to know bands like more on a personal level than like a regular interview where you kind of like have this this like front that you're kind of portraying as a.
Oh, but we suck at that. So, like, it's usually not an option for us. It always turns into. We have this problem where, you know how you can't write, like, as a journalist, you shouldn't write about people you know because you're biased.
Yeah.
Problem is that usually when we do an interview, say you're at like this showcase festival or whatever, and you're doing interviews, you always end up having fun with the journalist and making friends and hanging out with them for the rest of the night, and then they can't cover us anymore.
I think I've learned how
happened so many times.
I've learned how to do this. Like, go to genesimmons.com. Like, yeah.
Right now.
Buy everything. Send me all your dollars.
About buy everything. Where can the viewers and listeners find your merch?
genesimmons.com.
Yeah.
No,
Because
/
like we
Deathcrush.
can.
it's deathcrush.no.
.no. And
No.
and because you have some like this is we're recording this in January, so before this comes out during the summer, you will already have released 1 or 2 singles.
Yeah, we have 2. We're releasing. We had a single series before.
Yeah.
That was just like because we didn't really want to release an album before we released our debut album last year, and before that, it just didn't feel like what we recorded was an album. It was more like a series of just documenting what we were doing, kind of. Mm-hmm. And that was sort of. I don't know, we didn't want that to be our debut album. So when we put it online, it was just like, there's a singles collection. Like, we didn't really tell anyone that we did it, but it's been on Spotify collected. And now our record company, Apollon Records from Bergen, they want to release those songs on vinyl because they've never been released on vinyl, apart from like a maxi single thing.
That's cool.
So they're doing that. And we, of course, wanted something new on there because we've heard those songs before.
Yeah.
So we added 2 bonus tracks. So when this is out, both of those are released. And that's we played both of them here just now.
And people can get it at deathcrush.no.
Yeah.
Right?
The songs?
The songs?
The songs are everywhere.
The vinyl,
Songs are Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And,
Your local shop.
Maybe iTunes is closed now in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
So, like, I think we're like about on time. So I have. So you're about to go and perform another song for us to wrap this up, and you know I was thinking like since we're in a studio with almost no people, like it's just us behind the camera, we kind of wanted to bring some special guests. So I brought like Backstreet Boys for
Nice.
So
yeah.
An amazing photo. Good choice.
look at these guys.
They're very young here.
And,
Yeah.
and
And
they're-
overworked. They were slaves at that point. It's amazing what they could do whilst being like beaten in the back room.
I never heard that
No,
story.
they weren't beaten. They just didn't get paid for anything. It's like go on YouTube and just research Backstreet Boys because I didn't know about that obviously when I was a kid, but it's just that story is insane. That guy who did is it Dem and NSYNC or something? He's just like it's a really ugly story. So basically, they're all poor or were poor. I don't know what they're doing now, but they were all poor and just worked there. Like they worked 20 hours a day for nothing.
Wow.
While selling millions of albums. Didn't get a. I think they got a check for like a few $100s each or something.
But they said, I want it that way.
Indeed. So I'm gonna put Backstreet Boys up for you right now, and then we are going to.
Do you have some nudes?
The nudes will
They're
follow
probably too young in
off
that
air.
photo. Come on.
So, all right, guys, are you ready to play for me and Backstreet Boys and the cameraman?
I'm gonna try to get some of the choreography in there.
Nice. Well, I can't wait, guys. And this is Undergrowth, and this is Deathcrush.